Hey my lovelies, welcome back to my channel, and here we have part 2 of my Valentine's design. This is my Charlize the Gonk set. Part 1 I did all of the acrylic design. Now in this video see me create that hand painted gonk. Wish me luck! So here are the nails, all freshly filed. I do love a freshly filed design, but now I want to give these nails a really good dust over, a really good wipe and cleanse, because I don't want any little bits of dust or fluff or anything on the nail where I'm going to be doing my little gonk. So I've given them a really good wipe over with cleanser, sanitizer, whatever, a dust over. And now I like to just roughly trace where my design is going. So I've just got a normal pencil here, and I'm just sort of drawing out sort of the design and how it's going to fit on the nail. Now I do have a picture on my other phone next to me that I'm using as a guide, and so that is what I'm working from. It's not just out of my head, and so I'm just very roughly and lightly just tracing out the design. You can sort of see I've put in a beard, his beard and his nose. I've just going in with a couple of hands, and then sort of the shape of his hat. It doesn't have to be perfect, it's just there as a guide, and I've done it lightly so that I can cover it up. So I'm going to use the matching gel polish for this. So I've got Charlize to go with the glitter, and this is my little palette I use with my Perfect Nails art gels, because I'm going to use a couple of those as well. So I've just popped a little bit of Charlize onto that palette lid, and I'm using the Crystal Nails Zero Short brush just to get the line of his hat. I sort of start at the top of the design and work my way down. She says that, but then I sort of work at the bottom as well. Now I am not an expert at hand painting. I'm not the most artistic of people, but it's my goal to do more painting this year, so I thought if I do it in some videos it's going to push me. I've got the outline of the hat, so I'm just going to fill it in now with the Gems Avery brush. It's a little bit thicker, so I can fill it in slightly quicker. This is just my first coat, so it doesn't have to be perfect. I'm just sort of getting that base down, but I want to make sure I follow that shape as much as possible. If I'm not happy with it, just neatening it up, and then move the palette out of the way so I don't cure what's in it, and I'm just going to flash cure, purely so I don't smudge it. Now back to my Zero Short, and I'm going to get his hands and also his feet in, or his gloves and his shoes. So taking the shape that I've already sketched out, and I'm just using the Zero Short, following that shape and painting it in. I wanted to do everything that was in Charlize first, and then go in and add the details with my Perfect Nails gels. Don't worry if it doesn't look quite shaped, because it's all going to be outlined, so we can bring the shape back, and we're going to add some shading and detail as well. So I'm just getting the basic shapes with this first coat. So little hands, little feet, or gloves and shoes if you want to be particular, just filling those in completely, and then flash cure them once I was happy. If you're not happy, wipe it away and redo before you cure. Now I've got all of that base of Charlize down, I'm going to start with the black Perfect Nails art gel, and I'm outlining the hat. It doesn't have to be perfect, and this isn't my actual outline. I'm going to use this and then sort of smudge in some of the black just to get some sort of depth and detail. And here you can see I've picked up a little bit of Charlize on my Avery brush, and here you can see I'm just pulling it in. This is just to give me a bit of shape to the hat. bit of movement, and this is just how I work. It's quite a bit backwards and forwards and flash curing. If you were doing this on a client and you're doing sort of 2 hands, a finger on each hand, you can go backwards and forwards as things are curing. I got a little micro swab and some cleanser just to clean up, and I'm working these 2 colours wet. So I've got that line of black, and then I'm dipping into the Charlize just to smudge it, and just to get sort of some shading. That's the word I was searching for. If I was unhappy or there was too much black, just going back in, adding a bit more Charlize. I can always go over top again with the Charlize if there was a bit too much once I'd cured it. And yeah, it's just playing and blending until you are happy, really. Flash cure again. This is my little torch. Is so important for these designs because I just go in and flash cure. And now I'm going to outline his little gloves. This is where we'll start to get a bit of shape, and I'm going to do exactly the same. Well, I'm going to tidy up where I wasn't happy with that shaping. I only want a very, very thin line, and here you can see I'm doing exactly the same thing with my Avery brush. I am smudging that in with the Charlize colour just to get a little bit of shading. Now, I am not an expert at hand painting designs. I don't do it very often. As I said, it's one of my goals. I sort of making it up as I go along. I've done a few of the nail team courses, which has done character painting. But I am sort of making it up as I go along. But I thought I will share my journey. So that is what I'm doing. I'm sharing my journey. Here you can see adding a touch more with the shading on his little boots. Using my Zero short brush just to add some thin detail, and then that Avery brush with Charlize on it to smudge and add that shading. I've got this little pink palette you can see from Painted and Posted in this silver tin. It means I can keep the gels in there and it won't cure, and I don't waste anything. I can also mix colours, which I have done. So still working, just getting that until I'm happy. Again, I can go back, add a little bit more of the Charlize on top if I need to. But once I felt I'd got that shading just right, I'm going to flash cure. Now I added some black and top coat. So I had sort of a watered down black, shall we say. And this is just to add a little bit more shape and movement to that hat. Now you could do this on top of sort of the wet colour as well, but I felt it moved enough on its own, so I'm just doing a few lines here and there quite randomly to make it look sort of like folds in the hat. Some thicker than others because obviously it's not perfect folds, and just sort of adding little bits of shape with the brush. And it also allows me just to add a little bit more shading and add a bit more to the outline of the hat where I felt I needed it. I feel really weird talking through this because I am in no way a character or hand painting expert, and I do feel a bit wrong doing this, so feel free to mute it and just watch what I'm doing. My little micro swab comes in very useful. You can also use a little brush purely for cleanup as well. It just happened the micro swab was closer to hand. So just going back here, I'm adding an outline to his little gloves, so now you can really start to see the shape, and sort of again smudging for shading. So just going with the flow, really. Going with the flow. A little bit more on his little boots, and then once I was happy with all of that, I am now going to just paint his little nose. Now I'd already mixed a sort of fleshy colour out of some of the Perfect Nails gels because I did some Gonk painting a couple of weeks ago as well, so I thought I'd stick with the nose colour that I've got. But I did go in with a couple of other colours to add a little bit of shading, a little bit of depth. So I'm going in with a little bit of a pinkier colour now around one of the edges, and then I'm going to blend that in. I didn't flash cure the black scrunches and bits that I did. I'm going to call it scrunches. So I'm being really careful. If you aren't confident, flash cure. Just keep flash curing. So here you can see I'm adding a little bit more with my Zero Short and sort of blending it across. Then I felt it become too pink, so I went back in with that sort of the pale colour, and just went backwards and forwards between the colours to get what I was happy with. It's a teeny tiny little nose. Yeah, I think it was the bit I found the hardest to do. I want to try and keep the shape as neat as possible. As I said, I will be outlining. And then I thought just to add a little bit of shading to his nose as well, I've just gone in with a very small amount of detail with the Zero Short brush and that blackened top coat mix, and then just blending it into that wet gel. I only want a teeny tiny little bit, that was like a teeny tiny lot of it, but as you can see I just swiped it around to pull the colour, and here I'm just sort of shading it in. And once I was happy with this, I cured or flash cured, but I'm not happy yet. I actually popped it in the lamp that time and gave it a full cure, and now I'm going to start working on his little beard. So starting off sort of getting the shape of the moustache. So this is just white gel paint, and then I will go in with some grey that I mixed and some black, just sort of to get some shading and some sort of different colours through his beard. So just working on that little moustache shape to begin with, and then I will do the rest of his beard. Now at this point in the design I was planning to at the end add it so it looked like he was holding a glittery heart, and I was going to do that using the Charlize glitter. So I wasn't worried too much about how the beard looked sort of across his middle, because it was all going to be covered up. But then I changed my mind. Thankfully it didn't look too bad. Flash curing that first coat, and then I do all of the shading and mixing of colours in with the second coat before I cure it. So I'm working in that wet paint. So I'm going back over with some white, tidying up where I've got some on his little nose, and just covering his whole little moustache as much as I can. And then I'm going in with some grey. Here I've just picked up a little bit of grey on my brush as well, and I'm just pulling it through so it looks like he's got a few grey hairs mixed in, and then I sort of keep building on that, chopping and changing between my Zero Short brush and my Avery brush. And I also add in some of that black and top coat mix. Thinking about where I want it a bit darker, where it's sort of set further back as well. So here you can see I'm really pulling it through, and that's going to give me some sort of wispy lines as well. I'm going to do exactly the same on the other side of his little moustache, just tidying up, although that is all going to be painted as well, so I don't know why, but perfectionist. So you see I'm doing exactly the same on the second half of his little moustache, so in with the grey, and then just pull through with my Avery brush. So I've flash cured this, and now I'm really going to start to build up sort of some colour and some depth and shading into his moustache. So a bit more of that grey, and I'm going to focus more on the grey and that sort of that black top coat mix than with the white. I don't want to make it super dark, but I just want to add some shading like I did with his hat and make it look like it's got sort of a few darker strands. Getting some shape around the nose as well, because if you think the nose is sticking out over his beard, so that would be in slight shadow as well. And then here you can see I'm just using that Avery brush just to pull it through, and it makes it look a bit streaky as well. Touch more white just to really add in those streaks. And yeah, I'm just alternating between the colours and the brushes just to get that desired effect. And I'm going to say it again, I am no expert at this, I'm really just playing. Once I was happy with that, I flash cured again, and now I'm going to fill in the rest of that bearded shape that I drew with white. Now, like I said, at this point, most of this was going to be covered, so I wasn't thinking too hard about how I was going to add shading and streaks of colour to the rest of his beard. I did do it because I knew some of it was going to be on show, but I didn't sort of worry about it too much. And then when I decided not to add the heart, I was like, oh, but actually I thought I did quite a good job, even if I do say so myself. So I'm lining around everything else first, because I don't want to cover up any of what I've already done. I want to try and follow the shape of his little moustache as well, but can add some sort of shading and black and grey back into it to get that shape. So just going to go in, fill all those bits with white, and then we'll start to build up the shading and the sort of colour definition. So finished all of the sort of the beard base, and now I'm going to go in with the grey colour and start sort of pulling through, adding some shading and some sort of like streaky hair bits to the rest of his hair. Back in with the Avery brush because I can really pull that through and get that streaky shape. Trying not to cover the moustache, but not worrying too much if I did, because I knew I could outline it all and bring the shape back, but I sort of want to follow that shape of the beard so it's coming down. Yeah, just continuing to pull through, add in a little bit more where I felt it needs a bit more colour, and even add in some of that black and top coat mix. Avoid getting it on the hands, the feet or the nose, but again I can tidy that up if I need to. And sort of where it's in a bit more shadow, I've just gone a little bit darker, and if I felt it was too dark, go back in with the white. So yeah, just playing around with the colours. I've completely lost the beard shape, the moustache shape now, but that's fine because I'm going to outline it all. Once I am happy, we're just going to tidy up. I'm going to add tiny little bits of detail if I need to, and then I can give this a full cure. Or even I can flash cure the beard, and then I can add any final little bits of detail. So I thought I'd add a little bit more detail onto his hat, and this is more of decoration. So I flash cured his beard, And now I'm just adding some white lines, very thin white lines with my 0 short brush, just quite random. They're just sort of detail on the beard, detail decoration, and I also went in and added some dots as well. And once I was happy with the entire design, I fully cured for 60 seconds, and then I did a layer of base coat over the entire design. This just helps to even it out slightly, so that it's easier to add the outline and sort of outline any detail. Now, I did all of this off camera because otherwise this video was going to get really, really long, and I wanted to show sort of the main parts. So in a moment, we're going to fast forward to a fully completed outlined Gonk, and there you can see I've brought the shape back for his moustache. I've outlined his little gloves and his boots, and I was still planning on adding a heart at this point, so I didn't add too much detail to his beard, but you can see it is looking alright. Now, I was going to do sort of a string of hearts on this nail, so you can see I've added a black line to my smile line, but I decided not to. I decided to add some crystals, so I picked out some fuchsia crystals that sort of match the colour of Charlize, and instead of using my Crystal Nails gem glue, I'm using Gem's Felicity Flex. This is sort of that thicker base coat, strengthening coat, so I've just added a little touch of that, how I would the Crystal Nails gem glue, and applied the crystals in. I'm just adding a little one to his hat, and then I fully cured that for 60 seconds to hold in place. And now I'm going in with Tina Top and top coating all of these nails. And again, at this point, I was still planning on adding the heart because I was going to add it on top and leave it as textured glitter. But it wasn't until after I'd cured it all and I'd finished, I thought, actually, I really like him as he is. So I didn't bother. So I've just decanted a little bit of top coat on my little palette here so that I can get in with a detailer brush right up to those crystals, right around them to really hold them in place. I have not used Felicity Flex for this before, but Gemma recommended using the clear builder gel in a bottle, which is what she does, and I wondered if it would work with Felicity Flex, so I thought I'd give it a go. I've also done it on my own nails, so we'll see how they wear. Fully cured that top coat, and Charlize the Gonk is done. I call him Mr. Gonk, but actually it's Miss Gonk really, although he's got a beard. You could have added the heart detail, but I really loved how this turned out. I really hope you do too, and please be kind to me in any comments in this video, because as I said, hand painting is not my strong suit, but I really, really wanted to share this with you. So I really hope you have enjoyed part 1 and part 2, and I would love to know what you think of little Charlize the Gonk. That is it for my glitters of the week for this week, so I will be back with a new glitter of the week next week. Please check out the description box and I will leave all the product details and any links I have used. The gel paints I've used are Perfect Nails. I did get them from the nail team, but they aren't stocking anymore, so there's only a few colours available. I also recommend the Crystal Nails art gels. Please give this video a thumbs up, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to this channel, and I'll see you again in another video very, very soon. Thank you so much for watching. Bye. Mwah.